ठीक है. So, good morning, everyone. Today we have started our classes in community medicine, and in the previous hour, I believe you had some information about what community medicine is and the history of medicine. I remember even in foundation course a few Saturdays back, we had talked about the history of medicine and what is the importance of great scientists and all those things, how medicine evolved from its magical dark ages, and then you might recollect that there was no formal medicine in the beginning, and later on, slowly, as new discoveries were being made, so medicine, the art and science of medicine kept growing. So I that time probably I introduced you to the concept of community. What is a community? And I had told you then that we shall talk about these aspects later in greater detail. So now is the time when we are going to talk what is community medicine, why a separate term called community medicine has suddenly come in, and how it is different from medicine as such. Okay, so as you can see, this is one of the subjects in general medicine as such. So there is not much difference in practice of community medicine and general medicine, except for that the patient comes to a doctor in when you are a physician, when you are a general medicine person, a patient, you will sit in your OPD and a patient will come to you for his problems and his treatment. Whereas in community medicine, you will go out into the community, we go out to the people, and we find out what their problems are, we offer solutions, and then the problem is resolved. So that is one of the major differences, and that is why it is very important to find out what are the different factors or interplay of various factors which surround our people, which surround our communities, what are the various different kind of communities, and do they have any specific problems which are related to each kind of community. So if you can recollect, we had talked about different kinds of communities. I told you that students and young people form a different community. There are tribal communities, okay, there are marginal communities who are very underserved, there are slum populations, there are rural populations, there are urban populations. So here I am using the term population and community interchangeably. So sometimes community medicine is also called population medicine because it is for the population at large. All right, so let us see some of the concepts here to help you understand better what are the various factors which affect disease and how to take care of them. So how to take care of them will come obviously come later, once you have understood that disease is not caused due to a disease agent itself, but it is caused due to various factors. So we shall see some of these factors in the upcoming lectures. Now, very simply, I would ask a question: how can we get the knowledge of health, and how can we get the knowledge of diseases? So very simply, you can think for a moment and then you can tell me by reading books or by actually observing them in people. So the second answer looks more appropriate because how a disease presents in a community, what are the health practices of the people. If you have a thorough understanding of all these processes, then you get to understand and know disease better. So for that, we teach you health. What is health? We teach you what are diseases. So this is all a part of the basic sciences. Okay, when we talk about presentation of diseases and deviation of a person from health, mostly it comes under clinical sciences. And when we study health, as a whole, and why diseases occur, and how it impacts the population, and how it spreads within the population, and what can be done to control it, it becomes a part of population medicine. So you can see that in all sciences we study health and disease. You study it in your first year, in your second year, in your final year. Everywhere you are studying the same thing, but with a different perspective. Okay, so in basic sciences, what is this change in perspective? Let me explain to you. In basic sciences, which is your first year in physiology, biochemistry, and in your second year in microbiology to some extent, you study disease in the laboratories. Okay, a patient comes to you, you collect samples, and then you try to see what has gone wrong within the samples. So that is how you do a study of health and disease in the laboratories. If the values are within the normal limits, you call that person healthy. If they are outside the normal limits, you call the person as diseased or unhealthy. In clinical sciences also you do the same study, but it is dependent on what signs and symptoms a person presents to you with, and based on these signs and symptoms there are a set of investigations, and based on these results of these investigations you see what the person could be suffering with. You make a diagnosis and then you treat a patient. So this study of health and disease is carried out in the hospital. So the area where you are studying is the hospital and not the lab. In population medicine, you are trying to study certain factors which are related to disease, which we together call epidemiology. So in epidemiology we commonly say, we will come to that part later, that disease is an interplay between three different factors. One is the host factor, which is the man himself, okay, human being. So something is wrong within the human being, or something is not in equilibrium within the human being, because of which he alone became the target of that disease and not the other human being. Okay, so it might be reduced immunity, or it might be some genetic factors, or it might be his age or his gender or anything. Okay, so these are called host factors. Host is the man. Okay, then second part of the triangle is um your agent factor. Okay, so agent is present in the environment. Let us say the specific bacteria or the virus or the fungus or the protozoon, whatever is the causative agent for disease, that is also present in the environment. Okay, and third is environment itself. Okay, it has to be a conducive environment for multiplication of these bacteria and viruses, or they have to be transmitted via some vectors. Okay, so all these are environmental things which for a disease to happen, all these three things should be in perfect balance. One is the host should be weak or susceptible. Second is the agent must be present and it must be strong. It must have the capacity to induce disease in a weak host. Okay, third is environment, which should be favorable for the growth and multiplication and transmission of the agent to the host. Okay, so if these three things are in perfect balance for disease to happen, then only the disease can happen. If it is a very strong host, then no amount of agents can hurt that host. Okay, if agent is present, host is weak, but the environment for the multiplication and transmission for the agent to the host is not there, then also disease cannot happen. So when we study all these factors together, it is called epidemiology. Okay, and we also try to study what are the things which will help to prevent and control the disease if it has already occurred in the community. So this you see all these studies, how disease is starting, how it is spreading, how it is getting controlled, how the cases are rising, how the cases are falling. All these studies are not carried out in the hospital, but they are carried out in the community, and that is why they are called community medicine. Okay, so you saw all the three aspects. One is in the lab, which you do in basic sciences. One is in the hospital, which you do in clinical sciences, and population medicine or community medicine you do in the community. So on one hand you see a picture of your Clinical sciences where doctor is interacting with a single patient. On the other hand, you see there are some health workers who are trying to interact with so many children. They are trying to assess whether they are able to read or not, but what environment they are studying in, and everything surrounding the health and disease of the children. Okay, so this is practice of community medicine. Now I'll give you another example. Let us take the example of tuberculosis. I'm sure you must have heard of this disease. That is why I kept this disease as an example. Now you think, if a patient of tuberculosis comes to the hospital, now what is the role of basic sciences, what is the role of clinical sciences, and what is the role of population medicine? So you don't have to think so much because I've written the answers also. In basic sciences, you will collect a sample from the patient and then you will look under the microscope and see if tubercle bacilli, which are the causative agents for tuberculosis, are present in the slide or not. If they are present, you will say that this patient, because the agent was isolated from the patient, so this patient is definitely suffering from this disease. In clinical sciences, how do you diagnose a case of tuberculosis? Patient walks in, he tells you that I have some symptoms like cough, evening rise of temperature, loss of weight and appetite, and all these things. So these are some of the cardinal signs of tuberculosis which immediately tell you, okay, 4 out of these 5 signs are present. This is definitely tuberculosis. Okay, so this is how diagnosis would be made in clinical sciences. What would you do for a case of tuberculosis in population medicine? Okay, so what we do is we try to find out, we go to the household of the patient, we try to go into the community, we see what was the mode of transmission. Was he surrounded by tuberculosis patients? How did disease happen in this particular individual? So was he surrounded by tuberculosis patients? Was his immunity weak? How are his living conditions? How is his nutrition? Okay, so we try to study all these things and then we try to see whether in this community there are already many people who are suffering with tuberculosis, so we will try to do some community intervention or something at the level of the community so that the numbers in the community suffering with tuberculosis come down. All right, so this is how all these things are practiced. So in population medicine, community medicine, there are several topics. Okay, I would not say that each and every topic is apt for community medicine study, but there are some general topics which need detailed understanding and study, and such topics are related to hygiene, sanitation, public health, preventive medicine, okay, social medicine, how people behave within a society. So all these things are the focus of population medicine or community medicine. Now here I have listed out some names. You see, hygiene, public health, these are more than topics, these are some of the names which were given to the study of population medicine since its inception. So first it was called hygiene, which came from the word hygia. If you remember the Asclepius staff, it will come later. So you saw Hygia and Panacea were two daughters of Asclepius, and then Hygia was a promoter of public health, whereas Panacea was a promoter of clinical medicine and cure. Okay, so then it was called the study of hygiene, then it became public health, then it became preventive medicine, then it became social medicine, and finally community medicine. All these names, they have different time in origin, and they place emphasis on different aspects of population medicine as is depicted in their name. But the main concern for whether the name changed or not, it does not matter to us, because the main concern for all these disciplines was the same, which was promotion of health and prevention of diseases. So whatever the name, whether it is hygiene or public health or preventive social medicine or community medicine or any other name, the concern is always promotion of health and prevention of diseases, which is what you have to remember. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Hygia was the goddess of health in Greek mythology, and you saw that there was an Asclepius staff which had two serpents entwined. One was Hygia, one was Panacea, and serpent depicted the art of healing. Okay, so we still use that as a symbol of doctors, isn't it? The staff with wings on top and two serpents that entwine the staff. So when we say that it is a study of hygiene, what are the things we can advise to our patients? What comes under hygiene? We often advise our patients that we should cover drinking water, isn't it? We often advise our patients to wash their hands frequently, keep clean hands. Okay, we always advise our patients to clean our, not only patients, we advise the population, everybody in general. You see those advertisements in TV telling everybody to wash the vegetables before eating them, wash the meat or clean the meat before cooking it, right? So these are some general advices which are applicable to everybody, to the entire population at large. So these are some of the things we identify that where people go wrong, or where people usually don't follow the standard practice, and which are the points which can make them unhealthy. Okay, so if you look at the first point, if the water is drinking water is not kept covered, is it safe drinking water? No, it is not. And what happens when you drink unsafe drinking water? You fall sick. Okay. Look at the second point, washing hands. If your hands are not clean, if they are not washed regularly, then are they clean hands? No. So then what can happen if you use your dirty hands for eating, or even for touching various parts of the body like your eyes, your mouth, then there is risk of transmission of germs from dirty hands to the body and getting infected. Vegetables and fruits, when we get them from the market, are they clean? No, they need to be thoroughly washed and then consumed. Whichever vegetables can be peeled, they should be peeled, so that all the your infectious agents on the external layer of the fruits and vegetables. And by agents I don't only mean biological agents, these can be chemical agents also these days, pesticides, herbicides, so many different kinds of things are sprayed to yield a healthy crop. So all these things, wherever possible, they should be cleaned away so that they do not produce toxic effects in our body and make us unhealthy. Okay. Now, this thing, I think we have done it earlier when I was describing how public health emerged, but briefly I will tell you that its origin was in 1840, where the need to protect the public from spread of communicable diseases was felt, and then in 1848 there was a Public Health Act in England which was imposed as a law. Okay, so certain things were given. Now, after that, in 1978, WHO gave a definition of health. Okay, so the WHO definition of health, you might be aware, goes by it is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely being not merely being free from disease or infirmity. Okay, I will repeat it. If you like, you can write it down, but you will find it in your textbooks, of course. WHO defined health as the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So there are several key terms in this definition, and I think in the previous class, Professor Vaz has tried to explain to you what are the key terms, like complete, what is physical health, what is mental health, what is social health. All these are called various dimensions of health. Okay, and now rather than saying that I am healthy, I would rather dissect a person. Okay, and see, say, are you physically healthy, are you mentally healthy, are you spiritually healthy? So many different dimensions are there, and there are parameters to evaluate how to say whether a person is physically healthy or not, whether he is mentally healthy or not, whether it is socially healthy or not. What does disease mean? What does infirmity mean? So many things are there that we will eventually try to cover. But for today, you should remember that WHO has given this definition, and please remember it very carefully, mug it up or whatever you like, because this is I would reveal one trade secret to you. This is one of the passing questions in your MBBS exams. Okay, so if you are not able to answer these questions, nobody will you cannot pass MBBS. Okay, there are several other things, of course, but this is the starting point. All right, so What do we do in the definition when we talk about the definition of WHO, or we say that it is complete, this thing, that thing, physical health, mental health. So in all, we are trying to see that the science and art of medicine, okay, is trying to keep a person healthy. And what does this mean? So the goal of medicine, ultimate goal of medicine, is to prevent disease, to prolong life, and to promote health and efficacy. Efficacy means the productivity of an individual. Okay, so being healthy does not mean that he is healthy, he is happy, and he is roaming around in the garden and not doing anything. Efficacy means that he is working for certain hours in a day and adding to, giving his contribution to the development of the nation. So that is how it is measured. So he should go for work for a few hours in a day and then contribute to the development of the nation in his own way. Okay, so preventing disease, prolonging life, promoting health, and efficacy. So these are the goals of medicine, these are the goals of community medicine, these are the goals of any medicine, I would say, to satisfy the WHO definition of health. Okay, so what is the approach for all these things? Okay, how do we approach, how do we help people to prevent disease and promote health? We do community efforts for sanitation of the environment. We ensure, I told you that there are three factors. What are these three factors? Host, agent, and environment. So when we are out in the community, we have a fair chance to evaluate whether the environment where a person is living is safe or not. Okay, and that is why most of the diseases, you would agree, that they originate from a unclean or insanitary environment. Okay, dirty toilets, water logging here and there, okay, flies and insects harboring around garbage heaps and all these things. Nobody likes these people. Why we don't like these things is because they help the spread of diseases. Okay, this is not a healthy environment. So that is why there should be community efforts for sanitation of the environment. Second thing is control of communicable diseases. Wherever the burden of disease is high, there we should have sufficient measures in place so that the disease does not spread to more and more individuals. Now, classic example of these communicable diseases in the rainy season are your dengue, malaria, typhoid. Okay, so you see that these are all waterborne diseases and vector-borne diseases which spread very easily during the rainy season. So we can control them if we can control the environment, if we can control or educate the host to stay safe, and so many different measures. So we have to control the communicable infections. Third is, for promotion of health, we have to educate the individuals. Education for what? Most commonly we educate for personal hygiene, which begins very early in life. Okay, so you will remember that when you went to school, probably in your kindergarten or probably in your grade 1, you must have learned that you should comb your hair, you should wash your face and mouth. What are good habits? We wake up early in the morning, we do some exercise, we keep our body clean, we take a bath daily. All these things, what are these things? These are early enforcement of personal hygiene messages in an individual, so that a healthy behavior is built on later in life. If this healthy behavior is not built up, such people remain dirty. Okay, and it is not uncommon to see filthy people around us, and these are the people who suffer most with several diseases. Okay, then finally you have once you have enforced the environment, you have controlled the agent, you have controlled the host. Okay, so what else is needed is facilities. Okay, where will people go if they fall sick? So they should come to a hospital. So that means there should be enough hospital, there should be enough provision of care for these sick people. So organization of medical and nursing care for early diagnosis and preventive treatment of diseases. So this is the universal approach which is applied for providing community service. All right, and then organizing the above benefits to enable every citizen to realize his birthright of health and longevity. So this is the outcome. Okay, approach is how you can ensure that all these three things, which is prevention, promotion of health, and rehabilitation can take place, and finally you organize the health services so that everybody can utilize it and stay healthy. So staying healthy is the outcome. We shall see these terms later on again, but this is just to orient you to these things. Now, these are some of the factors. See, but what I'm talking might be very broad and abstract, but these are very important factors in health and diseases. And in most countries, be it developed country or in developed country, developing country like India, most of the programs fail and disease prevails. Okay, we still see old disease like tuberculosis. It has not gone away after 100 years of investing in so many national programs and so many policies in the country. You will learn about them later. Okay, HIV it's a relatively new disease. You think people are educated and everything, so why the disease is not going away? So it is because of all these surrounding factors. So many factors are there which we have been able to explore, which we have not been able to explore and address, which helps a disease to persist within a community. Okay, so in developing countries, it has failed to make a huge impact, I would say. If you look at most of the programs, you see at the problem of dying mothers. Okay, mothers dying while giving birth to a child. So this is unacceptably high in our country compared to many developed countries. You would be very surprised to know that for every 1 lakh live births, about 100 mothers die in our country, even though it's an institutional delivery and everything. Okay, whereas for you would feel that 100 is not a very high number, but in developed countries that number is less than 1. Okay, 1 or 2. In the United States, if you see, hardly 1 or 2 mothers die while giving birth to a child, whereas in our country, a few years back when I was a student like you, that number was somewhere around 400. So within the span of some 15-20 years, that number has come down to 100. So slowly progress is being made. We should not be disheartened that nothing can happen in this area, but yes, slowly progress is being made. But uh, we want to see results, big results. Okay, and these big results are not happening anywhere. In developed countries, in contrast, you can see that how many cases of tuberculosis in America do you hear? How many cases of maternal mortality or under 5 children dying because of malnutrition do you hear? None. Okay, practically none. So that is why we say that they have made a tremendous stride and a huge, their public health is very strong. Why it is very strong? Because from the very beginning they had enough stress on public health measures like sanitation for control of communicable diseases, and now it is mostly non-communicable diseases. Probably they overemphasized, and that is why now they are struggling with the burden of non-communicable diseases like heart attacks, obesity, and so many different things. Okay, so of course there are public health measures for them also. Scientists and public health doctors are constantly developing newer measures for every problem which arises in the community, and slowly we will take you through them. In the first class, I am trying to orient you what could be the factors surrounding diseases and why diseases persist in the community. The question is still the same. Okay, so we will come back to this later. Okay, so preventive medicine is a branch of medicine which is distinct from public health. It is applied to healthy people and it has scored success in prevention of communicable diseases. So mostly when we talk about preventive medicine, it has the word prevent. So medicine to prevent what? Prevent communicable diseases. Okay, so this history I would skip here because already I think I have told you something about Pasteur's experiment, about the cholera vaccine, and so many different things have happened. Maybe today's assignment is you Google. Okay, so because you don't have the books and you are spending a lot of time on the internet, I give you this assignment. Please Google and find out what has been the history or early experiments for prevention of scurvy. Okay, these two conditions, for prevention of scurvy and prevention of smallpox, control of smallpox. Okay, so if when you go to these two conditions, you will find pages, Wikipedia pages, Wikipedia, and there you can find the entire story about how James Lind did an experiment and he conquered, I would say, scurvy. Okay, and how Edward Jenner was the leader of vaccination for smallpox, and till date, for even for coronavirus, we rely on vaccination. So how it developed, how it originated, how it developed, how it came to the present form, everything you will see in Wikipedia. So that is your assignment for today. Please do it. It is an interesting assignment. It will walk you through like a storybook, and then you will understand that it has whatever we are enjoying today, okay, has not been achieved overnight. There has been years and years of work and development in that particular area. Okay, so in the same pattern, some early triumphs in the 19th century in the field of vaccination, anti-seraver, the cholera vaccine, diphtheria antitoxin, anti-typhoid vaccine. Okay, and several, I told you that agent may be transmitted by several modes. So several modes of transmission for African sleeping sickness through the tsetse fly, then malaria from the Anopheles mosquito, yellow fever from the Aedes mosquito. So all these routes of transmission or modes of transmission were discovered. Okay, and in Hyderabad, because now you are studying in Hyderabad, we have the Ronald Ross Institute of Fever. Okay, and you know who Ronald Ross was? What is he associated with? He is associated with malaria. Okay, discovery of the Plasmodium falciparum. So all these discoveries have happened, and then only we have come to a greater and current understanding of diseases that we have. So please understand that disease is not only because of a weak host, not only because of a presence of an agent, it is also because of a presence of a favorable environment. And in most of the cases, if we are able to control the environment, we are able to control the agent and host very well. Okay, so with this, I think I'll give you some more examples, like how to from the knowledge of when the knowledge how the knowledge of bacteriology was developed. Bacteriology comes from the word bacteria, study of bacteria. Okay, and specific measures for blocking the channels of transmission were found, they evolved, and we use them even till today. Okay, first example is water purification for drinking water. Okay, drinking water from the source, the way we get it from the rivers and streams, it's not safe. Okay, it has to go through multiple stages of purification before we receive it in our taps and it can be consumed. Nowadays, even in households, we have our aquaguard to filter it, or we boil it before drinking. Or why do we do it? We do it to kill all the microorganisms and render it safe for consumption. Second example, pasteurization of milk. Would you ever consume milk which comes directly from the cow? No, we would like to boil it, we would like to heat it, and then it would not go bad, and it is also safe to consume. What are we trying to achieve by this pasteurization? There are several diseases which can be transmitted from raw milk. Most commonly, it's the bovine TB. Okay, bovine means animal, cow. Okay, so cow TB, tuberculosis. It can be transmitted very easily from unboiled milk or raw milk. So that is why we adopt, and there are several other diseases also which you will learn later. Okay, so pasteurization of milk helps to ensure that milk is safe for consumption. So we have blocked this channel of transmission of bovine TB to human by consumption of raw milk, just by treating the milk. Okay, then proper disposal of sewage. I need not explain what are the diseases which are transmitted due to sewage. Okay, all waterborne diseases, all fecal-borne diseases like diarrhea, cholera, typhoid, so many different things. Okay, and finally we have the destruction of insects. So many insects around us, the mosquitoes, the houseflies, they are all vectors of, or they are all causes for so many different kind of communicable diseases. So once, that is why we like to live in an insect free environment, not for the fear of bites, okay, but for the fear of diseases. So once we are able to control them, we are blocking one of the channel of transmission, and then we are taking care of the disease. Okay, so these are some things. Apart from that, nutrition also has a very important role to play. If you eat less, okay, if you eat less of a certain ingredient in your food, it is not called balanced diet. Okay, and not taking a balanced diet can pose several nutritional deficiencies. So a few years back, nutritional blindness due to vitamin A deficiency was a very common problem children, and because of which the government of India had to introduce vitamin A drops to be given to all children along with their routine immunization. So again, you will learn about that when we study nutrition, what is nutritional blindness, but this is one specific deficiency due to vitamin A deficiency. Then iodine deficiency. We all know very well that we consume iodized salt. So the salt that we buy from the market, we always see whether it is iodized or uniodized salt, isn't it? And what do we prefer? We prefer to buy all those salt labels which have iodine in them. Why? Because iodine is important for the body, and deficiency can cause so many diseases. Again, what are the specific diseases we shall see later. Okay. Now, as research is developing in all these areas, we know that there are several vitamins which are important for the body, minerals important for the body, proteins are important for the body, and of late, what they are saying, fiber is also very important for the body. Okay, so that's why they are asking us to consume whole grains, organic food, then your fruits and vegetables as a whole, and not juice. Okay, so why? Because they are also they fight obesity, they lower down your bad cholesterols, then they help in preventing cancers of the intestine, and in older people they also help to prevent constipation. Okay, which can again cause so many diseases of the gut. So all these informations we have not suddenly received, nobody has fed in our mind. Okay, this has come from years of study, what is happening, what are people doing, how they are doing it. Then only we got an understanding of how to handle these conditions better. So experiment after experiment will keep coming. Like here on this slide I have put discovery of sulfur drugs, anti-tubercular drugs, anti-malaria drugs, leprosy drugs. So discovery of medicines also help to control the patients or disease among the patients directly, and that is why they fail to transmit the disease to another healthy individual. Okay, so this enriched the scope for preventive medicine to control infectious diseases. And many a times these days, if there is a TB case in a family, we give prophylactic means to protect the healthy individual. It is not to cure the disease but to protect the healthy individual. Like for example, I would say for our coronavirus, many people are asking us to take vitamin C regularly. So is it for treatment of scurvy or for some any other medical condition? No, it is to protect us from by building our immunity, we are less susceptible to contract coronavirus. Okay, so similarly, if there is a case of TB in the family, we give such protective medicine so that the other family members do not contract TB from being in close contact with the patient. So that is called prophylactic, PROPHYLACTIC. Okay, so this all these things, they enrich the scope of preventive medicine and to control the infectious diseases. Now, after the stage of preventing and treating disease, what is the next stage? Eradicate the disease, finish it altogether. So how can you do it? You can have several measures like vaccination and all the public health measures put together so that case does not happen. If a case happens, it does not spread the disease. If the disease is spread, it is adequately controlled, and your ultimate goal is that the disease should be vanished from the environment altogether. So that is the stage of eradication, when you are able to very well control the disease in question. Okay, so we will again talk about these things later. Okay, so ultimately everything that we are talking about is to prevent diseases and promote health. So it is very important to study the factors which are related to disease, which are related to good health of an individual, and these are called socio-cultural factors or economical factors. Within this, we study all these factors. So I will leave you here with your homework. Okay, please don't forget to look those up in Wikipedia. And next time in the next class, I will tell you some of the factors and how they are related to health. Okay, so to broaden your understanding of various cultural factors or environmental factors. Now, environment, when I say you, before I stop, I would tell you that there are two different kinds of environment. One is the external environment, which is surrounding us. Okay, so the temperature, the room temperature, the humidity of the room, is it bright sunlight outside or not, is it dark? All these things are components of external environment. Whereas what is happening inside our minds, inside our bodies, is the internal environment. Whether we are stressed out or not, whether we have had adequate sleep or not. Okay, so whether our mind is healthy or not, whether it is focused or not. So many different things are there that we study in the internal environment of a person. So when the external environment is not favorable, we suffer from various infectious diseases, because all these external microbiological agents, they uh, grow and flourish in the external environment. Whereas when we talk about the internal environment, it is usually related to non-communicable diseases and mental health problems, which are favored more due to poor internal environment. I will give you an example. Now, when you are stressed or when you are depressed, okay, not you, I don't mean you, but when somebody is stressed or somebody is depressed, what is the common thing they do? They overeat, okay? They feel sad, they sit in front of the TV, they overeat, okay, in an effort to entertain themselves. And all this lack of activity and eating and disturbed habits or disturbed equilibrium between activity and rest leads to overeating, which leads to obesity, fat accumulation and obesity. So obesity has become a problem of the internal environment or the external environment. It has now become a problem due to disturbance in the internal environment of the body. Okay, so the several examples you can think of like that. Okay, so when we study medicine or community medicine as such, or population medicine, so we take gist of all these important social factors in how diseases are caused, why they are caused, how they are transmitted. So at each stage, these factors have a certain role to play. And I will try to keep it simple in the next class, and straight away give you some factors and how they are related to disease. So we will stop now. For your attendance, you can put it in the live stream, your name and your roll number, or alternatively, let me put it in the chat box. Uh, you can even put it on my mobile. Okay. Please write your full name and roll number. Okay, full name and roll number. Uh, roll number. Not only in the chat box, and send it to 98855 45714. All right. So please send your attendance at this mobile number, and I'll try to record it on register. Okay, so thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can even post these questions. Please don't WhatsApp me, because the WhatsApp load becomes very high. Only SMS. Okay, send a standard SMS, and then I'll be able to record it. WhatsApp, I'm not able to understand. I'm not very as advanced as you and on WhatsApp. Okay, so please pardon me for that. And I hope you took something home today. Please do the Wikipedia exercises, and then we will meet in the next class with some more social and cultural factors which surround the development of and propagation of disease. Okay, thank you very much. Have a very nice day, nice weekend. Energize yourself, take proper rest, have proper nutrition. Bye bye.